Something a bit different today. I've got this, a Nintendo 3DS. It is my daughter's. There's the camera. Hello. You can see it's a 3DS. It's currently on, but there's quite a queer little fault with this one. Let me demonstrate that to you right now. It doesn't want to charge. We've got ourselves a charging cable, and I'll put it in there, and you can see I've got a random flashing light there. You can tell there's definitely a problem here, because if I actually open the thing, you can see in the top corner there, if I move the cable around, it will flick between charging and not charging. I'm doing this whilst looking through the camera. It's not easy, trust me. The actual socket itself is ruined, and we can replace that. It's actually quite an easy replacement to make, and we're going to do that. Now, I bought a new replacement off of eBay. Let me just ask the cat to move out of the way. Thank you, cat. I bought a new one on eBay. £2.99 for that. And to make double sure in these lockdown times that I wasn't wasting my time, I even bought a new charge cable as well, just in case. I thought to myself about getting a new battery, just in case it was the battery which was faulty, but after looking around online, it seemed to me that that there is the culprit. And it's quite an easy fix. Right, I haven't switched it off. I don't care about game states. That's not my forte. That's Chloe's forte. So let's get this thing stripped down. Right, so that's all the screws out. Let's put the screw pot away. Now it's time to lift the base up. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lift up gradually from this area here. And you can see the insides of the 3DS. Now there's two things we need to be careful of here. There's a ribbon just here, and there's a ribbon just here that need to be undone. And the easiest way to do that is just to gently lift at one corner there. I'm using a pair of tweezers here, like so. And we'll do the same over here, just a pair of tweezers, lift up, and there we go, that's gone. So this piece here now, we can do and put that away somewhere else. So this is the piece we're going to replace here, and you can see that it's literally soldered straight onto the board. So what we actually need to do is unsolder, or desolder even, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pads off the bottom of this. Now to do that, I'm going to use this desoldering wick. I could use a solder sucker, but for this we're going to use some wick. To let things flow, we're going to use a little bit of flux if we need to. Not planning on using that, but we're going to start off by removing all the solder around the pads. Soldering on, I'm going to set to just about 400 degrees. I'm using a, let's get that focused in. That's the sort of size of tip I'm using there. And we'll see how we get on. Right, it's not going on too well, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this flux here. And we're just going to put some of this flux onto the pads because it's not wicking the way I'd like it to do, and I don't want to apply too much heat into here. So we're just going to put a little bit of this flux around the sides there. I've got a nice clean tip on the iron. I've just put some solder onto it, it's ready to go. So let's try again. Okay, so what I've just done is as I was looking at it a bit closer, I've just loosened up that pin there and that very end of there, just by pushing against it with these tweezers. And then what I've done is I've just put my tweezers in the actual socket here, and I've just started to rock it gently backwards. Oh, and there we go, it's off. And there we go, that's what we've got. Let's see if we can focus on here. So you can see we've got some nice flat pads here where the new socket is going to solder on. We've got a bit of adhesive going on here as well, which is still sticky, so I can use that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean this board up here with some IPA, just to make sure all that flux has been removed. I'm not going to tin these pads because there'll be no need to. There's plenty of solder on those pads already. So what I'm going to do is when I put the socket in, I'm just going to tack one pad down at a time. So first jobs first, find the new socket wherever I put it. So I'm using this one here, which is IPA 99.5. I bought it before the lockdown and it was only a couple of quid. Nowadays it's worth its weight in gold. So let's just rub it on around here. I don't want to go near the adhesive because that will remove the adhesive. But what I do want to do is make sure that all these pads are nice and clean, ready to receive the new socket. Beautiful. Okay.
1 week later.
Right, it really has been a week and I have not touched this, and that's for a very good reason. Let's move this to a side for a moment and I'll talk to you about what's going on. This is the piece that we've taken out. You need to pick up on some details here. This is the underside of it. You can see it's completely enclosed and you can see the points here which I unsoldered. If we look at the item which I bought, you can see it's not enclosed, and although on the face of it it looks like it will fit, it is by a hair's breadth just a little bit too big, and it doesn't fit onto the board. Let me show you. If I put the original piece back in here, it locates perfectly and works no problem at all. The second one, because it's a slightly different construction here on the bottom, if I put this in, it doesn't quite locate, it doesn't quite fit in. I thought I could make it fit by bending some of the pins around, and that would have been okay, except the case here needs to go over the plug. So if we turn it back round as if it's on the board, it needs to fit into that housing area there. And as you can see, we bring it a bit closer, that does not fit in there at all. If I take that one out and put the original one back in, you can see that even though I've just pressed it in, in fact it's upside down, sorry, even though I just press it in, it will fit in there without a problem. Let's just put that in there. So you can see it fits in snug and it fits in there, no problem at all. So I've been back onto eBay and I've purchased another one. And this one, like the original, fits no problem at all, even though it's a bit tight. Fits in there, no problem at all into the case. Let's do that again just to show you. Okay. And like the original, locates itself straight away. So it means that this is the one. So if you are replacing the power port on a DS, and this one is a 3DS, I don't know what year this one is. It says 2011 on the information on the inside here. This is, I would assume, one of the older 3DSs. But be aware that if you're buying an older 3DS, you need to get the right power point. And this one, if it looks like that on the information on eBay, like that, it's the wrong one. In fact, I'll show you the two adverts up on screen right now. Right, so here we are, we're ready to solder this one back in. I've just changed my tip over on the soldering iron. I usually use this one. This one's quite a nice tip, to be honest with you, a chisel edge. Quite small, but it's a good tip nonetheless. But I thought for this one, we'll give it a go and we'll change it over to this one here, which is a pointed needle there, which is going to be quite good, I think, to get in, because there's quite some tight areas, especially here where the standoff is. Now, unfortunately, this is as much as I can zoom in, I'm afraid, so I'll have to bring it up to you to show you better. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at this point here, because it's got good access. I'm then going to come back round and do all of these points here, so that's all nicely soldered in, and then the one which is by the standoff, which is just here, I'm going to come in there and do this one last, because I think that's going to be the most troublesome one to get to. So that's the plan. As you can see, it's nicely seated in there. There's no chance of it moving around. Originally it would have had a little bit of adhesive on the bottom of this, but I'm not putting that back in. So I'm just going to go around, solder all these in, and then we should be job done. Soldering iron is set to 399 degrees C. Just going to tin the edge because this is a new tip on this iron. Okay, so I've just had a quick look at that again. I don't know if you can see that. So that's the first pin in there. If I was to do this again, I think what I would do is I would, as we cleared all the solder off all the other pads, I would put some solder onto that pad there, heat it up, and then put the plug back into it so that it, it joins onto it nice and neatly. So that's on there now. I've got it in the right position. So I've just tacked it down. Now I'm going to go back over the other pins and solder them in place, making the actual plug, the socket I should say, nice and secure and in the right place. And then once I've got it in the right place, I'm just going to do a test fit of the case to make sure I'm happy with it. Make sure it's not going to foul up. In fact, you know what? Before I put anything else down, I think that is something I should just try. Like so. And make sure that this fits in neatly. And I don't want to squeeze too hard because of the ribbon cables in there. But that looks to me as if that's going to fit in there beautifully. Good. Right, so that's proven that that's okay. Just need to find my phone so I can shut it up, wherever that went. Okay, so we're ready then to just put the others in place. So there we go. I hope you can see that. That is now all nicely soldered. We've got a solid light there, which is something that we haven't had before. And of course it's not going to continue charging because there is no battery in place. So that is looking quite positive. So let's reassemble it. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is reconnect all the ribbons. So we're going to start with this one over here, in fact, because this one's the tricky one. Okay, so that's the ribbons now connected. Now I just need to push this back over, gentle squeeze, and we can see that's fitting nicely in there at the back. Great stuff. We'll start applying some screws now. Right, so last step now, let's put the battery in, like so. Put the bottom back on. And it's just the last 4 screws that just need screwing in. Right, it's switched on. Let's plug the cable into it, like so. And we have a solid charging light. If we open it up, we've got a charging icon there in the corner. Don't know if you can see that, which is telling me that that is a success. Charging light staying solid. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.